Hi, welcome to Discovering It Out with Kevin. I'm Kevin. Hey, so if you watched my last reaction video, I actually learned about cricket watching a video that was teaching cricket to baseball fans like myself, hence the Toronto Blue Jays up here. And it was great. I mean, it really brought things to light a little bit for me that I didn't know. It was unexpected, actually. And I was quite surprised with how well that video was done and how easily it helped me understand cricket a bit more. Still got a lot of questions, and some of you had shared some of your thoughts in the comments, and one of you had mentioned that this particular YouTuber actually has a follow-up video on this one here that I should check out. So that's what I'm going to do today, because I really want to learn more about cricket, and I really want to get involved. We've also had some people discussing the different types of cricket and not understanding why people wouldn't like the 5-day cricket, we'll say, considering the fact that sports like golf tend to go on for very long as well. And, well, do people really like golf? I kid. Obviously, people do. People like cricket. But I think if you're into things like baseball, and if you're into things like soccer, or not even soccer, maybe, but hockey, basketball, you're probably not overly into watching golf as well. And I think that's what it is. Like, I'm so used to games being over within a couple of hours, 2 hours at most, and your game is over, everything is concluded. But that's not to say that I can't get into something like cricket and still enjoy the, full matches that go on for days. Obviously, I mean, I'm a sports fan at heart, which means that I will find a way, I will. And I think a lot of that's going to come down to another suggestion that was given to me in the comments. And that was to watch cricket with some of you guys. So if you want to head over to the Discord and join the Discord if you're not already there, do that. And when cricket matches are coming up that works in a time zone for me, or maybe we watch a cricket match that already happened, I will let you know in the Discord that I'm going to be doing this, and I'll plan it. And you can join me. Join me in watching cricket, and we'll record that. So yeah, you'll get to join me here on my channel. Your beautiful face will get to be next to mine. And we'll do that and share that way. And this is going to help me. It's like anything, even learning a language. I learn languages better when I'm talking to people of that native tongue. Sports is the same way. I'm going to learn more about cricket, not just from the videos I'm watching, but from watching cricket with fans who already know the sport. So join me on the Discord so that when I'm ready to start doing that, you'll be ready to join me with that. Without further ado, let's head into the next video. Before I do, I want to remind you all, of course, to, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future content. Without further ado, let's watch it, shall we? This is cricket and baseball, most similarities and differences.
More similarities and differences between baseball and cricket.
Hey, this video is a follow-up to my video, Cricket Explained for Baseball Fans. If you haven't watched that one, you might want to do that first. For the final section of that video, I described some broad similarities and differences between cricket and baseball. Several people shared more similarities and differences in the comment section of that video, so I figured it would be a good idea to make a quick companion video highlighting some additional ones. One difference, and this is pretty obvious, but it bears a mention, is that in cricket, the fielders catch the ball with their bare hands, while baseball players use gloves. It should be noted that the cricket ball is actually heavier and harder than a baseball, so that's just something to know. While we're here,
why did I think cricket balls were rubber? Maybe it's just we played with lacrosse balls when we played cricket. I don't know. What is cricket balls made out of? He's probably going to explain it. I'm preemptively stopping it like an idiot. But catching it bare hand, I mean, what kind of speed do you get in those balls when they're hit? Like, compared to a baseball, for instance, you wouldn't catch a baseball barehanded. I mean, I know I wouldn't.
Let's talk about the balls. Although they look different, cricket balls and baseballs are actually pretty similar. They're both made of cork and string covered
like
in
an idiot. I
leather
paused
and are
too
stitched
soon.
together along standard seams. Cricket balls have a single seam that goes around the equator of the ball, as opposed to the horseshoe-shaped seam of a baseball. The main difference is that cricket balls are heavier and slightly smaller than baseballs and are considerably harder because they're covered in lacquer. A major difference is that in cricket, each ball is used for a much longer amount of time than in baseball. How long each ball is used depends on the format of cricket and a few other factors, but it's significantly longer than in baseball, where a new ball is provided anytime the pitcher wants one, anytime the umpire determines that a ball has become dirty, or anytime the ball goes into the seats. Over 100 balls might be used in a single Major League Baseball game, whereas as few as 4
Not
or even
uncommon.
just 2 balls might be used across a cricket match, depending on the format and details. Unlike baseball, where fans can keep the balls that
I
they
gotta
catch,
this.
if the cricket
See the athlete in me, or not the athlete. Well, yeah, I'm an athlete, but the sports fan in me sees stuff like this and gets
Whereas
excited.
as few as
Watch this.
4 or
Watch
even
this
just
guy.
2 balls might be used across a cricket match, depending on the format and details.
That's a big deal in Major League Baseball. Like when outfielders jump, the Superman dive, they call it. They catch the ball like that. That's a big deal. And they're doing it with a glove. These guys are doing it barehanded. That's insane.
Unlike baseball, where fans can keep the balls that they catch, if the cricket ball is hit into the stands, it is returned to play. And if it becomes lost or damaged, the umpire selects a new ball from a collection of game-worn balls and will choose the ball that is the most similarly worn to the one that was in play. One similarity is that both games have a bit of a ritual break built into them,
Weird.
at least at the highest levels. Professional baseball has its
Bill Murray.
7th inning stretch, whereas one-day
Comedian.
international cricket and test cricket have tea and lunch or dinner breaks. The difference is that baseball's 7th inning stretch always happens halfway through the 7th inning, while the tea and dinner or lunch breaks in cricket happen at set times during the playing day, regardless of where they are in the match. Also, the breaks in these cricket matches are considerably longer than the 7th inning stretch, which only lasts a few minutes. YouTube user SynthMusicFan501 brought up a bunch of similarities and differences, and they
Holy
have
cow.
created a series.
Yeah. Whew. That's it's complicated. I like that. Do white and red balls literally curve or swing the same amount? It's complicated. I mean, in baseball, you've got, knuckleballs, you've got curveballs, you've got sliders, it's just, and just straight up fastballs. There's just so many things you can do based on how you're holding the ball in your hand, how your fingers are positioned and such. But yeah, wow. Okay. I'm not going to read all of that. We'll see what he covers.
Series of videos about cricket that explain the game in more detail for anybody interested. One difference that was new to
okay.
me.
Hold on. Okay. Yes, I'm interested. So I'm going to have to check this guy out as well. I'm thinking a synth music fan of 501. Cricket explained in short videos. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. Expect more cricket videos, guys. I'm sorry if it gets too mundane and boring for you, but I really, really want to learn this sport as best I can, because a sport that has such international acclaim has to be a good sport worth watching. Okay, so yeah, expect more from me.
Cricket that explained the game in more detail for anybody interested. One difference that was new to me is that in cricket, there are no double plays. Only one runner or batter can be put out in a single play. YouTube user Era Persigan 2
Not like
brought
baseball,
up a
you can
similar difference,
catch 'em
which
all
is
out.
in cricket, there's no need to tag up like on a fly ball that might be caught. If the ball is caught, as long as you made it past the other crease, you're safe. The run won't count, but this is something that you might want to do to affect the striking position for the next ball. Another difference brought up by YouTube user Sam Moffat is that a lot of the decisions that in baseball would be made by the manager, in cricket are made by the on-field captain, so someone who's actually playing the game. It's been a long time since Major League Baseball has seen a player manager, and it's pretty rare for on-field players to have, the level of influence over decision-making that a manager has, although it does happen sometimes. A similarity between the two games is that bowlers and pitchers deliver the ball at different speeds and with different types of spin, and each type of delivery has its own name. For example, in baseball, we have the changeup, and in cricket, there is the slower ball. One difference that I've noticed, and I would love for a cricket person to maybe explain this a little bit better in the comments, is that cricket bowlers tend to be identified or classified based on the type of bowling that they do. There are two broad categories. You have fast bowlers and spin bowlers. And within those categories, you have bowlers who are identified with like one like sub-style of bowling. In baseball, it's not uncommon for a pitcher to have like a signature pitch or a signature sequence of pitches. But these are generally seen as just one part of a wider pitching arsenal. It's rare for a baseball pitcher to be identified primarily by the type of pitch that they throw. Knuckleballers are the one exception I can think of right now. Like R.A. Dickey, you would call him a knuckleballer before you'd call him anything else. Instead, in baseball, it's much more common to identify or classify a pitcher by the role they play on the team. Starter, closer, setup man, long reliever, etc. I mean, even someone like Mariano Rivera, who was known for basically throwing only one style of pitch. You wouldn't call him a cutter ball pitcher before you called him the closer for the New York Yankees. Another similarity between the two games is that baseball and limited overs cricket deal with ties basically the same way. In baseball, if the game is tied after the ninth inning, they go on to extra innings, which is where additional innings are played until one team has scored more runs than the other team at the end of the inning. And in limited overs cricket, if the game is tied after the overs limit has been reached after the second innings, they play what are called super overs, which is where each team bats for one over, and they keep doing this until the super over ends with one team having more runs than the other.
Oh, he just did something, and I'm wondering, is that allowed in cricket? Because you have to throw the ball to knock over.
And they keep doing this until the super over ends with one team having more runs than...
Did he just hit that and knock it over? Is that permissible?
The other team, just like in
if he had the ball.
And a thank you goes out to YouTube user Sankara Narayanan C for pointing this out. Finally, in baseball, if weather causes the game to be shut down for the day, the game is either declared final as it is, or the game is suspended and basically unpaused at a later date, depending on how much of the game has been completed. This can lead to some interesting situations, including at least one case where a player appeared for both teams in the same game after being dropped by one team and then picked up by the other team in between the suspension of the game.
I was like 2 years old when that happened. I think it was like 86 or something like that. I wasn't even 2. But I remember hearing about that. That's crazy.
And it's restarting a few months later. In limited overs cricket, if weather causes the game to be shut down and it's still the first innings, the match is just considered a draw. They don't restart the match at another date. If this happens during the second innings and the batting team has had the opportunity to bat at least 20 overs if it's an ODI cricket match or 5 overs if it's a T20 match, one team is declared the winner, but it's not necessarily the team with the most runs. They use something called the Duckworth-Lewis method to determine the winner. And this is way too complicated for me to talk about here. So there's a link in the description if you want more information about this. Before we end this video, I just wanted to weigh in.
See, and I think that's part of, I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking because this probably doesn't happen that often, but you know, when you have the sport that has so many aspects and rules to it, it gets difficult, right? Because you know, just that alone, understanding what, you know, what happens there when, like, he just compared baseball to cricket. When baseball's sports, when their events are, the games are, you know, stopped due to weather. It's kind of like one of two things, right? It's, you know, one or the other. With cricket, that's not the case. It could be a factor of things, and you really have this whole schematic to look at before you can even declare a victor. If you're declaring a victor, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. But at the same time, one of you guys had commented saying that cricket was like a chess match. And of course, alluding to the fact that it's definitely more complicated, maybe more intellectual. It's a man's game, we'll say, I guess. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, and of course, and this actually intrigues me, by the way. Just so you know, I'm not saying all of this negatively. This actually intrigues me because it leads me to want to know more, but it also explains why I struggled so much in the past to really understand cricket. But yeah, I do want to learn so much more.
On a debate that seems to have come up in the comment section of that video just in the last week or so. And the debate is about which of these games is more complicated. And I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying, like, I'm a lifelong baseball fan. I played Little League as a kid. I play weekly pickup games in the park. I run a fantasy baseball league. I watch like at least one baseball game a day during baseball season. And I'm pretty new to cricket. I only really got into cricket maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it was a conscious thing. I decided I wanted to get into it. It seemed interesting. So I started watching some matches and basically had to figure the game out myself. With all this being said, I can confidently say that if you are starting from a place where you know nothing about either sport, cricket is by far the easier game to understand. My oldest kid
What?
is
I so thought he was going the other way with that. I so thought he was going the other way. I mean, okay, explain yourself. Explain yourself here.
cricket is by far the easier game to understand. My oldest kid is 3 years old, and most of her cousins and the kids that she plays with are, her age or at most kindergarten age. And we've tried playing games like t-ball and kickball using baseball rules, and we've also played a game that's basically cricket but, modified for a 3 or 4-year-old. And just at this basic gameplay level, I find that cricket is just so much easier to describe to a 3 to 5-year-old, which makes me think that it's probably the simpler game to understand if you're coming at it from a position of not knowing either sport. I mean, in cricket, you can hit the ball in any direction. There's no foul area, so you don't have to explain that. There's only the 2 wickets. There's not the 4 bases. So you just tell the kid, try to hit the ball, and if you think you can make it to the other wicket, run. If you don't think you can make it, stay put. That's
I
honestly
guess,
a lot easier
it's
than
very
cricket.
basic route. I can see what he's saying. I can understand that. Maybe it's just because I'm in North America. We used to have 3 baseball teams in Canada. We're down to 1, just the Jays. That's it. We had the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Montreal Expos, but now we just have the Jays. And we grew up playing baseball. There's a baseball pitch outside of every school where I live. Baseball and soccer. And hockey was biggest thing ever here. It still is. Bit of basketball, bit of soccer, but those were the big ones. But and I guess that's probably why, because looking at cricket for me, it looks so much more complicated. But maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's complicated for me, not because it is complicated, but because it's foreign. Maybe that's the reason. I'm putting up blocks in my own head as a result of thinking that way, and that's probably what it is, because he's right. When you bring it down to the simplicity of it, as he just did, cricket is more simple to understand and play. And as I'm thinking about it, as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about how truly complicated baseball is, because my wife is not a sports fan at all. I mean, if I'm watching a game in the house, in the living room, let's say, and she does decide to stick around the living room, chances are she's on her phone. She has no idea what's going on the TV, or she's reading a book or something. And I've had to, I've tried to explain some stuff to her, and she cannot grasp any of it, even in baseball, very well, I should say, at least. I can't say any of it, but she doesn't grasp it very well. And I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it, I'm going, yeah, because there's a lot more to baseball when I really think about it than you really, without thinking about it, think there are. If that makes any sense to you. I don't know. I'm rambling.
Okay, so you hit the ball, run to first base. You have to run to first base, but don't run to second unless you think you can make it, unless you're compelled to run to second because you started on first base and now the ball is in place, so you're compelled to move. It's a lot more complicated. There's no tagging up in cricket,
and don't forget, if you're running to first base and you run and turn left, you don't have to, but if you run and turn left and then the ball gets to first base before you get back to it, you're out. Whereas if you run and turn right off to the towards the off the field, you're safe regardless when you come back, right? So you'll see runners in baseball running past first base, and then they'll turn to the right and walk back to their base, and they're safe. Stuff like that, like just the very simplest of rule, like that is more complicated. He's absolutely right. And tagging. So tagging, a lot of baseball players on the bases will lead off. So they'll step away from their base towards the other base. And that'll give them, more of an advantage when running to the next base. But if a pitch is thrown and it's a strike or foul, that person has to walk back to their base and touch it again before the next pitch is thrown. So yeah, that's, it's definitely true, about that. Yeah. Now that I think about it, he's right.
You don't have
100%
to
he's
teach
right.
the kids about, okay, so if they catch the ball, you actually have to tag up on the base that you were at. And then
See?
if you think you can make it, you can run.
Yeah, it's all, not just with a strike, also with, a caught out. So the ball was just caught by the Miami player. So DeJong had two choices. It was run back and tag the base, or boot it to second base. And he was too close to first base to get to second, so he had to go back and tag first. Absolutely.
But a lot of the time you don't want to run unless there's 2 outs and 2 strikes, in which case you do want to run. That's a lot more information than just, if you think you can make it, try to run to the other one. Now, this is not to say that cricket does not have its complexities, right? Both games have their own intricacies and complexities and the little details and the fine print that make them, not the easiest games in the world to explain. But even then, I find that cricket's rules follow an internal logic at least a bit more closely than baseball. A great example of baseball not necessarily following its own internal logic is the dropped third strike, which is something that's been brought up in the comments. So for those of you who don't know, in baseball, if a batter swings at a pitch and misses, it's a strike. It's a strike if the ball comes in cleanly. It's a strike if the ball hits the dirt first, which happens a lot like on splitters or like with back foot sliders or something like that. Even if the catcher is unable to cleanly get possession of the ball, it's still a strike. However, the batter is only out after the third strike if the catcher catches the ball in the air. So if the ball bounces first, or if the catcher cannot cleanly handle the ball and the batter swings, it's still a strike. It still counts as a strikeout for the pitcher and for the batter, but the batter's not actually out. The batter is actually a runner, as if the ball had been put in play. That makes sense if you know that the put out only happens when the catcher catches the ball.
Yeah, and that can be very confusing as well. Definitely.
But that's not something you would know automatically, especially knowing that a batter can't just run to first base on a wild pitch or a passed ball otherwise. But even then, this does not apply to every single dropped third strike situation. It only applies if first base is unoccupied or if there are 2 outs. You really wouldn't be able to intuit that rule based on...
And 2 outs because first base is going to run regardless.
The other rules of baseball that you know. I find there's less of that in cricket. Anyway, if you're a person who knows both sports, feel free to disagree with me in the comments, but that's just something I wanted to weigh in on. Maybe, at least for some of us, the reason why cricket seems so confusing or overwhelming is because there are just enough similarities to baseball that we kind of get into a baseball mindset when we watch the game. And this makes the differences between baseball and cricket seem especially weird or even chaotic, right? Like imagine 2 batters just running back and forth between home plate and the pitcher's mound. That would be absolute chaos. But again, if you're starting at a place where you know neither game, I think cricket is the easier game to describe to you and for you to understand, and I don't think it's close. All right, that's it for now.
Yeah. So again, I guess he's just edifying foreign. I'm looking at this with my North American lens on. Looking at, as a baseball fan, what is cricket? And that's definitely the more confusing part. But not just a baseball fan. I mean, yes, I am, but I'm a fan of hockey, and I understand the concepts of hockey very well. I understand the positions. This is the other thing too that I've got to learn because this baffles me. I know all about the positions of hockey. The 6 players per team on the ice. Your goalie, your 2 defensemen, your 2 wingers, and your forward. I know about the positions in baseball. Right, you've got your catcher, first base, second base, third base. You got a shortstop. You got center field. You've got your outfielders, your 2 left and right fielders, and I understand that very well, very easily. Right, even basketball. I'm not even a big basketball fan, but even basketball, I get the difference between the guards and stuff. But in cricket, it's just I gotta learn because I look at it and I just see it's just a bunch of people look like they're just in random spots, and I don't know what they're doing. I get the picture. I get the two batters. I even get the guy on the other side behind, almost like a catcher, maybe, to catch a wild ball so that he can whatever. I guess the rest are just kind of like infielder, outfielders, you know. But I've seen the layout, and they all have different positional names. I think it looks like, I don't know. So that's kind of, you know, going to be a bit confusing for me as well. But I think I get the gist of the game enough right now that I think if I watch a game, which I'm going to do soon, and I want to do it with someone, I want one of you, 2, 10, 20 of you, whatever, to join me. I want to watch a game. I think I get enough of it now that without having to know everything, I can watch it, understand it, and dare I say, even enjoy it. Yeah, I think I can. So again, join me on the Discord and let me know if you want to join me when I watch a match at some point. Again, whether it's live or whether it's pre-recorded and we watch it together. Either way, we'll do that. We'll record watching it. I'll edit the highlights and we'll share that here on my YouTube channel. Check out the Discord for that. Folks, I want to thank you so much for watching this video, sticking around with me to the end. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future content. And also, don't forget, I do free virtual tours, and you can head on over to worldvirtualtours.online/Kevin. That's worldvirtualtours.online/Kevin. And I haven't been mentioning this lately, and I keep forgetting to do it, but I actually am gearing up a giveaway on my Facebook page. If you head over to my Facebook page, I'll put a link down in the description. Once I get to 500 followers on Facebook and or Instagram, both of those, and they'll be linked down below, I will be giving away a Newfoundland theme prize pack. That's right. Amanda, thank you so much for what you've sent me in Australia snacks. Well, I'm going to be doing kind of the same with Newfoundland snacks, as well as other memorabilia from Newfoundland and Labrador, including things like our flag and stuff like that. So I want to do this really cool thing for you. Maybe some books, maybe some Newfoundland dictionary books, so you can understand Newfoundlandese a bit. It's pretty cool. I want to do that. I want to do it as a giveaway. So head over to my Facebook and or Instagram pages and follow me on those platforms so that when I get to 500, you'll be automatically entered for a chance to win that. In the meantime, again, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate all of the support you've given me, and I thank you for the continued support. We'll catch you on the next video. Until then, bye for now. Hey, you enjoyed that video? Well, if you did, check out this one down below. It was a lot of fun to make. I think you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you really enjoy the videos on my channel, be sure to hit that little icon over there. That allows you to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. And hey, join us over on the Discord. It's a lot of fun over there as well.